Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mary Trump's Nerd Avengers. I'm Brown Mary Trump, filling in for Mary, who is just so swamped today that she asked a fellow Nerd Avenger to step in and take care of the duties. We have a lot to talk about. Kamala Harris goes into the lion's den at Fox and kicks a lot of ass. Donald Trump goes to Bloomberg and says things. We have an election in 3 weeks. We got Georgia doing some good things. We got Nebraska doing some good things. We got JD Vance going full Orban and a January 6th insurrectionist. We're going to tackle all of this with our Nerd Avengers. We got Brian Karam here with us today. We got Adam, we got Dean, and we're going to have a Jen. Tune in and let's roll. Hello, nerds, and hello, friends and community. For those who are asking where Mary is, she is perfectly fine. She is just so overwhelmed with a backlog of work that she called me about 10 minutes ago and said, Watch, help, Watch. So she's perfectly fine. She's healthy. She's doing well. She's giving you all her love. She will be back next Tuesday. It's just that when you start a brand new media company, you got to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things. So she's editing a whole bunch of videos. They'll be out. Please like and subscribe to her channel. Please like and subscribe to this video, Mary Trump's Nerd Avengers, and please share the good word. But today, in her place from Earth 3, it is me, Brown Mary Trump. And we do it like Ike and Tina. We don't do it nice and easy. Brian, how do we do it?
We do it hard, baby.
Nice and rough. That was very terrifying.
Nice and rough.
That was very scary. We have an all-male panel for Kamala Harris until Jen joins us, but we have a lot to talk about. Kamala Harris, with 3 weeks left to go, folks, it's all pedal to the metal. She is speaking to social media personalities. She went to call her daddy. She went to Howard Stern. She did the 60 Minutes interview. She said, all right, CNN, you want to debate? Let's debate. She went into the lion's den of Fox, talked to Bret Baier, and she wants to go to Joe Rogan. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was swaying like a penguin back and forth for 39 minutes at a rally. Totally normal. But she goes into Fox, and she was expecting, I'm sure, a hostile interview. She was expecting, of course, some pushback. She was expecting, of course, some low balls and uppercuts. But she was hoping that Bret Baier, who, Dean, last time we heard from the establishment, was one of the few fair journalists at Fox. And I want your take before we play the clips. When you heard that Kamala Harris was going to go talk to a fair journalist at Bret Baier, were you expecting a fair interview?
I was not really worried for her. I mean, I think Vice President Harris can handle anything from her years from being a DA to being an attorney before that, and cross-examining people, having to answer tough questions as an AG, as a senator. So I really wasn't worried. I think she can go on Hannity, to be honest with you. I'm not kidding. This might seem trite, but I'm not kidding. I think she could go on Laura Ingraham. Bret Baier is actually a little bit tougher in that he does view himself as a journalist. So he asked a lot of follow-up questions over and over and over. But the takeaway and the headline from the interview was the dishonesty of showing a clip to try to show Donald Trump as not being the threat that he is, literally showing the first 20 seconds of it was like, I'm not a threat to anyone. I don't say bad things about Democrats. Where the next 20 seconds, he literally said, Democrats, us, everyone watching, we are evil. We are sick. That's his words. We are the enemy within. Donald Trump is radicalizing his base to view fellow Americans as the greatest threat to our nation. So what I really wasn't worried about her. And people are going to see what they want to see. If they don't like her, they're going to think she didn't do well. For the rest of us in the real world, I think she did a really great job. But even Bret Baier on Sean Hannity last night admitted, I think she got the viral moment that she wanted. And that was all because of Bret Baier showing a dishonest clip, essentially trying to cheat and got called out right to their face. So she did a great job.
Let's show this clip before I give it to Jen. Jen is, I think, stepping in for Spinderella Mercedes. Jen, can you play this clip, Fox Enemy Within?
Absolutely. Here we go.
Is as bad as you say that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States. Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
It's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a
so
cakewalk
are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's
Because
true.
you're a bigger criminal.
It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within, that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask.
Jen, your response to that?
My response is it's great. This was her moment to call him out on his BS. And what's also pretty flippin' cool, I don't know if you saw it, is the Harris campaign actually put up a side-by-side video showing the full excerpt from the Harris Faulkner show, where literally the same part of that clip, right before he said that, Donald Trump talked about the enemy within. He name-checked people, including Nancy Pelosi. So even though Harris couldn't have known at the time she was doing the Fox interview what had gone down at the other Fox studio, she knew in her gut that this was BS. And then she called Brett out because she knew what Donald constantly says. And this made Fox News look terrible. It reminds us of their, what was it, a $700 million-ish judgment involving Smartmatic and whoever the other...
Dominion.
Say that again? Dominion, right? Dominion. Of course I choose the more obscure one. And Dominion, the voting machines. And that they just can't be trusted. I also just think we've come a long way where a woman can do what is needed, which is to show anger. Because you can't, I heard Pete Buttigieg talk about this. Showing strength and domination is necessary because she's going to go toe-to-toe with other people. It's a way of showing authority. And thank God women can actually do that now, because I don't think that's something, 8 years ago, Hillary could have gotten away with. Because when she tried, she was, ridiculed, etc. So those are my many comments.
That is a very good point in that Kamala Harris, let's not forget, folks, former DA, attorney general, prosecutor. We followed her career. I was born and raised in the Bay. She prosecuted the case. She stood her ground. And instead of being punished, it seems that she was rewarded. And before we talk about Fox, Adam, I want to bring you in here to talk about this. You know, a lot of Democrats, and myself included, I was really annoyed when Tim Walz during the debate, you know, kept saying, I agree with J.D. Vance. And yet it seems like when the base sees Democrats fight, when they see, you know, the takeaway from that Tim Walz debate was that ender, where he said that's a damning non-answer. And the highlight from this clip was when Kamala calls out Donald and calls out Bret Baier's rudeness and his constant interruption. Do you think that Democrats need to lean in with that type of energizing, forceful, offensive, you know, take them by the throat approach, which she did with a professional calm and facts? Because that's the clip out of the entire interview that went viral and seems to have energized the base.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my two takeaways from this interview were Kamala Harris is ready to be president and Bret Baier sucks, right? She went into Fox, she went into the kitchen, she ate their cupcakes and she slayed a fox, right? That's what happened.
Cupcakes?
And, you know, their lunch, breakfast, whatever's in there.
It's okay. I'm fine. I'm
That's a
good.
great line. I'm not touching. I'm just not doing it.
She went in there and she did exactly what we want as Democrats to hear every single day, right? We're always this happened with Speaker Nancy Pelosi while we were hoping and waiting to see if there was going to be the first impeachment. And a lot of us were highly critical how long it was taking. And in reality, there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes that we weren't hearing about. And when she did it, that was exactly why we sent these folks back to the House, right? To get things done, but to also hold people accountable. So to sit and watch and hear Kamala Harris push back and be Daniel Dale, right, is exactly what we want to hear. And if she's going to do that sitting there on Fox and do that in these interviews, she's ready to be president, right? She's not scared of anybody. And in the contrast too, you probably have the clip later, is watching someone we've never heard of tell the truth to Donald's face yesterday too. And it's time people start stepping up and taking that energy and anger and frustration for protecting this country and democracy and hold these people accountable. And that includes Bret Baier, who is one of the only people I know to be both Donald's and Kamala's bitch.
Oh, mic drop on that one. We are going to compare and contrast, and I think it is important to compare and contrast as we head down the finish line. There are two clear choices, and the more Democrats delineate it, right, not only in terms of performance, stamina, but also vision, it seems to be very clear. You're either in this camp for democracy or in the camp of this guy who is swaying like a penguin. We're going to show some Donald clips, but Brian, I want to bring you in here about this whole concept that so many in the establishment had, that Bret Baier would somehow be a fair journalist. That after all these years, Brian, we still think that Fox operates like a normal news network. Like the fact that people were shocked that Bret Baier was like defense counsel for Donald Trump, that they were shocked that he was rude, that they were shocked that Fox News would play a selective clip. And I know, sir, that you are a critic of the media, so I was waiting just for you as a gift, Brian. You know, after all these
just
years,
serving it up there on a platter, aren't you?
A softball down the middle. You know, what really just pissed me off is after the interview came out, people were like, I can't believe Bret Baier would behave like that. Brian, were you shocked?
Of course not. That was the fairest that Fox News can be. What do you want? That's it. Look, she raw dogged him. There's no doubt about that. At the end of the day, Bret Baier, he had his hat handed to him on a silver platter. I don't know what euphemism you want to use, but at the same time, you have to realize that what he did is before they got together, and I'll push back just a little bit. Jen, you said she knew in her gut. She knew for a fact what was going on when she got there. There is no way in hell. I mean, she was down to point. She was shooting free throws, and he's trying to hit from the opposite foul line. So, or if you like, she's throwing a 5-yard dart in the end zone, and he's throwing Hail Mary passes. He didn't connect. She did. And at the end of the day, she connected because she was on top of her facts. And I think what Bret did that was wrong, and I think what Fox does is wrong, is they engage in this group think all the time. So all of their
can I just say, if you're going to do sports, if you're going to do sports, she was the Detroit Lions to his Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I'm a Packers fan. Don't go there. So that's
Okay.
the Packers are going to take you line anyway. So, but what Fox does is they group source their questions, and what they do is they have an idea of where they're going to go prior to. So you could tell what Brett was doing when he got on stage with her. He was steering it in a certain direction. That's not journalism. That's propaganda. At the end of the day, I want to ask you questions, and I want to follow up on your questions. Go Pack, go Pack, go. And I want to follow up on your questions, and I want to listen, and I want to be able to respond responsibly. And that didn't happen. That's the closest you're going to get out of Fox, though. That really is the closest. He made pretense of asking questions. And if you want to know how it really went, I'll tell you how it went. There are Trump supporters who say, look, he did great and she did horrible. She was muddled. But I don't take that away from it, because I have a next door neighbor who is a Trumper, whose son and wife called him in to watch this live. He's asking her about immigration. You got to come in. He's hammering her. So after it was over, I asked him, how did she do? And he goes, oh man, she kicked his ass. So what Harris did yesterday was appeal to a lot of female voters who watch nothing but Trump TV, Fox television, and they don't have to. And the Democrats are campaigning in red states this way, telling them it's a secret ballot. You don't have to tell your husband. You don't have to tell your boyfriend how you vote. Vote your conscience. And she gave people who are usually Trump voters the ideal and the idea that they can vote for her and it won't be a wasted vote.
I'll go to the DL women who might vote for Harris in a second, but I want to do a compare and contrast. And Celery 8, what a great name, Celery, is on point. There was Donald also decided to crawl out of Mar-a-Lago, and he stopped swaying like a penguin. I refuse to call what he did dancing. And he also made some appearances.
He was an NPC in a video game. My God, he looked just like it. I played Fallout, and he looked like a guy who runs against the wall all the time.
That was an excellent nerd reference for those who play Fallout. But for those who have not seen the Univision debate, we had these assets, but for some reason the videos right now are not here. We'll try to find the videos. But I don't know if you saw, Dean, that there was a fantastic question where somebody in the Univision, because, Donald's courting the rapist and criminal element. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what he calls Mexicans and Latinos, those who come from shithole countries. So he goes on Univision to try to win over Latinos. And he talks about January 6th. And I wish you could see the reaction clip where he was lying about January 6th. And the camera pans, and we're going to try to get the video. And literally there are women like this. I'm not making this up, like this going.
I saw it.
Yeah, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your take of his appearance to court the brown and black folks of America, Dean.
First of all, if I went on to do the town hall, I would have used my grasp of Spanish. I would have said El Niño está bajo el avión, which means the boy is under the plane. That's what I know from Rosetta Stone. I've memorized that line. I've got it ready. When I'm at the airport, if I'm ever at the airport and a mother comes up looking for her son, I can say El Niño está bajo el avión, which would be everyone there would be like, I'm voting for that guy because he knows his child's on the plane. Putting that aside, the guy asked Donald Trump a very serious question. Donald Trump said, "You've lost my vote," and that you did nothing for 3 hours on January 6th and watched the attack take place. What are you going to do to get my vote back? And Donald Trump then said nothing about the 140 officers that were brutally injured or the 4 that committed suicide, or Brian Sicknick, who we know was killed that day. He's in his 40s. He has a heart attack next day. He was killed by Trump supporters. He only talks about Ashley Babbitt and about how peaceful everyone was. And he even said, Trump, in a weird moment of lucidity, actually said, I guess I'm not going to get your vote back. Because Trump knows what he did. And that's what he actually said to the guy. I guess I'm not. I can't watch him, but I'll read the transcripts of stuff because I think it's very helpful. And he literally said that. So there was this moment of the dementia Don had a moment of lucidity where he understood he's not telling that guy what he wants. And that's when they cut to the crowd where he said, the only person that died was Ashley Babbitt. And I disagreed with Mike Pence. Everyone with eyes knows what happened. The problem, I think, Wajahat, is that some people don't view this as a deal breaker. They agree with us. They see January 6th. They go, it's bad. But, milk is 30 cents more. or whatever reason, or brown and black people are having freedom in America, or I like to oppress women, whatever it is. But there are some people who are, as I'm reading articles, young people of color, young men of color, you can't accuse them of being bigots to their own race. They're talking about other things. It's a small sliver, but that's going.
Small sliver.
And the reality is,
well, the media amplifies them to make them bigger.
We do. That's what we do wrong. We simply because there are outliers who say it, we repeat it. But the truth of the matter is that Donald Trump is in trouble, and Donald Trump is panicking, and that's why you're hearing and seeing all of the outliers that are trying to move the message that way. I don't think it's being successful.
Well, Dean, I know because you have to leave in 10 minutes, I want to get you on this. Young men of color, people of color, we've heard a lot about Republicans say, the black men are going to go for Donald, Latinos are going to go for Donald, Arabs are going to go for Donald. Your take on this, because I hear this every 4 years. I believe when all is said and done, and let's see, we'll find out in 3 weeks, it's going to be the same. 88-12. 88% of black men will probably go for Kamala, maybe 85. I think when all is said and done, he's not going to get the type of numbers that Republicans are terrifying us that he will get.
I wrote an article for Substack, and I'm not promoting as much as I'm citing.
Promote it.
It's in there. No, but I wrote about why the bro vote strategy of Donald Trump's a loser. And because people keep seeing the gender gap, and they're like, oh, look, Vice President Harris has the same lead, 11, 12, 14 with women that Donald Trump has with men. The reality is, since 1980, women have voted in bigger numbers than men. Of young women and young men in 2020, young women voted 11% higher than young men did. So when you want to look at who's going to come out more, history already tells us women come out more. Many, as my sister told me, because as my late mom told her, that we didn't always have the right to vote. So you better get out and vote. And I didn't even realize that until recently. She said that to me. I was like, wow, what a powerful thing. Second, women have skin in the game. Republicans want to force you to carry a fetus against your will, even if it kills you. What do these young guys got? It's like voting for your favorite sports team. If they could do it by an app, I'd be really worried. To actually get off their couch and drive down and wait online and vote, well, anything distracts them. There's a football game. Someone brings some weed over. A pizza gets delivered. Harris should have pizzas delivered to young men across the country that they think might be voting for Trump. And
or weed.
They won't even vote. Weed and pizza. My point is, for the gender gap, don't be misled by the gender gap, folks. They're not close. They're not the same when you see the numbers. Trump has to get 6 or 7 points higher of men in terms of turnout. It's all about turnout. I think women are going to come out in bigger percentages this time than the pollsters are putting in there. So that's why I think the polling is I don't think it's bullshit, the polling. I'm sure you're allowed to curse, sorry. But I do think it's undersampling that component of their constituency, the way they project out polling. They do it past elections. Women come out 7, and just so people know the exact, I'll just give this and wrap up. 2020, women accounted for 55% of the electorate. Men only accounted for 44%. That's rounding up the averages, but it comes out to 100%. So there's a big gap. And young women, it's even a bigger gap. I think you're going to see that. That's going to be the headline after this election's over, if history shows us as a guide.
Well, I have a binder, and it's a binder full of women, and I'm going to pick one. Jen Taub from my binder full of women, speaking as the representative of the best gender. Donald Trump tried to attract this gender, knowing full well that the Republican extremist agenda and attack on women's rights is hurting him. As Dean said, we saw in 2022, we've seen in the special elections, and he had a panel, an interview, a Q&A, a town hall with Fox. I don't know if we have the clip. If we have the clip, let's play it. But those Republican women on Fox did not seem too pleased with losing their abortion rights. This again was on Fox. I don't know if you saw the clip, but what was your takeaway from that?
Well, I don't know if Mercedes put that clip up. What I saw, let me just see if it's up.
It was
here.
A row of women like this, Jen.
We have I think it's fine. All right,
that bad. Row of women was from Univision. But maybe there was
the Faulkner Focus.
The Faulkner Focus. Yeah, I did. Faulkner. Well, yeah. On the Faulkner Focus, what I did notice was how disgusting Donald was when someone brought up when Harris Faulkner brought up Amber Thurman, and I have to share this with you because I honestly did not know. You know how you say, yeah, he can always go lower.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can go lower than this, but dear God, if he can go lower than this, I don't even think I want to ever see this. I just want to play this for you guys because it's unbelievable.
Thurman's family
There you
have
go.
come out on a press call, and they're doing what's called a pre-buttal 2-hour town hall right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah? And I want to
Get better ratings, I promise.
That's what I think of that town hall, those women. Amber Thurman bled out to death. Beautiful woman, young son who lost his mother, family who lost, loving daughter, sister, auntie. And what he has to say is, I'm going to get better ratings than her family. If that is not the closing argument for why this man doesn't deserve to even have a friend visit him when he is in the dementia ward, I don't know what is.
What, do you think anybody really would? Come on. His own kids don't like him. His wife doesn't like him. He doesn't have any friends. The guy's all about himself. I don't think once he gets in, I think he will be in the dementia ward. I think that's the loneliest old man on the planet after this election is over. If he's not in prison, he's going to be in a dementia ward somewhere. And if he's in prison, he's going to be staring at a mirror in a 4x4 room, telling everybody how great he is and not being able to tell anybody but himself.
Brian, I
think they're going to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Don Jr. checked in as well, though, just to finally get that time he wants with his dad.
No,
oh God!
The thing that
Adam always comes in with these uppercuts. He just
the thing about them is, Adam, I'll tell you the God's honest truth. When I was interviewing Michael Cohn, he said none of his kids liked him. They don't like him. They said to him, please make sure that we don't end up like him. Once he's gone.
Let me say something real quick before I bring in Adam and talk about another disastrous appearance that Donald had at Bloomberg. Jen, if we have those assets, I think we did, but let me know if we have those assets. But
I have them. They're not up. So you tell me what you want.
You have them.
I have it downloaded. They're not over in brand. I will take care of whatever asset you want. I got.
I love that. Look, folks, this is how we do it. Jen is being Sprinderella today, Mixmaster Jen. This is grassroots stuff. We get it done. We get it. Immigrants get it done, folks. But there is a movie that's out called The Apprentice, starring Sebastian Stan as Donald and Kendall, Jeremy Strong as Roy Cohn. It just came out over the weekend. Brian,
have you seen it?
Yeah, Brian and I were lucky enough to get advanced copies of it, and I don't get any money. But
I'm seeing it Sunday.
I recommend you all watch it because it just shows you. I mean, it's well.
I wrote a review for it for Salon. You're right. It's great.
Well researched, well acted, and shows you this dysfunctional family that Donald comes from. The father's cruelty to the siblings, the fact that weakness. You're not allowed to show weakness. You're not allowed to be nice. And then how Roy Cohn grooms Donald into the supervillain that he is today. Right? Never admit that you're wrong. Never concede. Always lie. Always fight. And now you're seeing it in that clip. And I'm so glad you brought out that clip, Jen, because politicians have to at least perform empathy, perform kindness, right? At least pretend that you care. We know you don't care, but pretend that you care. And he is, Adam, incapable of even pretending. He goes to grievance. And I want to show this clip from the Bloomberg. He sat on for an economic forum. He had a panel, went disastrous. Do you see what? Do you have the Gavin Newsom clip? What do you have from Bloomberg? Play it for me, Jen.
Let me see if she has Gavin Newsom because he wasn't on Bloomberg itself.
The new scum. He calls him new scum, and the host is like, I think you meant Gavin Newsom, and he's like, no, new scum. That's what I call him. Dean,
while she's looking for the clip, just maybe we can talk about it later. But you just made a really good point.
Actually, they were worried, am I going to be liberal, if you want to know the truth?
That's not it. It's not labeled Gavin Newsom.
That's
So
right.
sorry.
That's right. All
He
right,
looks
Adam, go ahead.
great, though. Doesn't he look great? He really looks healthy. Oh my God. I'm not being petty. He looks unhealthy.
We've got to this
unhealthy.
point where like we're here again in October, and I've wondered every single year why it is this guy is not capable of at least just pretending and acting or shutting his mouth for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, because that could tip the entire election if he just came across as normal, and he's just not capable of it.
Well, he can't shut up. That was the problem. You know, when he first got in the White House, they tried to keep him away from us for a while, but Don needs the crowd. So he would drift over to us and talk all the damn time. And you would see his own people sitting on the side cringing, going, crap, I got to clean this one up, because he can't stick to the facts.
Got it.
Newsom,
Shut
he's
up.
the governor of California.
Newsom.
He signed Newsom, Michael.
Yeah. But do you think?
No, he corrected me. He corrected me. I said, that's the first time I've been corrected.
There are CEOs out here.
That's the first time I've been corrected. In addition to calling Gavin Newsom new scum, and then you heard some people in the audience clap and applaud. I know, Dean, you have to leave, so I want to get this to you. The fact that first and foremost, he was shocked that he was corrected. The entire clip, we're going to show another clip afterwards. I want to actually play the clip of Google, Jen, if you have it. Where
Should Google be broken up?
I just haven't gotten over something the Justice Department did yesterday, where Virginia cleaned up its voter rolls and got rid of thousands and thousands of bad votes, and the Justice Department sued them that they should be allowed to put those bad votes and illegal votes back in and let the people vote. So I haven't gotten over that. A lot of people have seen that. They can't even believe it.
The question is about Google, President Trump.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go,
Wait.
Yeah.
There's more to the clip though, because the rest of the clip he says, well, he says, well, I don't like Google. They don't like me, or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So
it's all about him.
Yeah. So Dean, I want to ask you this, but before I just want us to.
Can I? Because I can comment on the antitrust issues there at some point if you need me to. But go ahead.
No, let me get Dean, because he's got to bounce in 3 minutes. I'll come back.
Oh, right.
I just want to sit with this for a second, because we don't sit with it as corporate media, as a country, right? He calls Gavin Newsom new scum. When he's corrected, his base laughs and snickers. He then is shocked that he's actually fact-checking when it comes to actually pronouncing a governor's name correctly. When it comes to him answering a simple question, he goes off on a rant and a tangent. And as Jen said, it just continues.
Yep.
Dean, what's happening here, man? Like 3 weeks ahead of the election. Your take from that, I thought it was a disastrous interview.
It was. Donald Trump has mental health, cognitive decline issues that we know. That's the reality. By the way, when you listen to him carefully, because I watched that clip, I played it on my show, and the whole thing, part of it is he doesn't know that the Department of Justice is looking at Google to possibly break them up. That's what he goes, I haven't followed. That's what he can say, I haven't followed that, right? That's what he was going to say, but he realized that's a bad answer because it's been everywhere in the press. Making new memories is difficult for Donald Trump. That's what happens with people with dementia. We know this. I had Dr. John Gartner on from Duty to Warn on my show Monday. I'm sure you guys know him as well, and other doctors. I'm not a health expert. I can't give an opinion. We know we see something. And what my point is, Donald Trump's dementia or potential dementia is not a political issue. It's a national security issue. And that's why the corporate media has to have doctors on, not me, not you guys. Everyone's great here, but real doctors to go, here are the signs of cognitive decline. Here's what dementia is. Here's what we see in Donald Trump. And this is what's going to happen over the next 6 months or a year. And we're going to amplify that more because he'll be president and the pressure level will be even higher. And at some point, he becomes a Pino, a president in name only. And they're not going to 25th Amendment him. They're going to control him. And they're going to have him sign 2025. The Heritage Foundation guys just have him sign things. They give him a cheeseburger and a Diet Coke, and he smiles. And that's the reality. No joke. As President Biden says, this is what we're looking at. And the corporate media's failure to cover this issue. And I pitched it to write about it for corporate media. No one wants to touch it. I go, I'll quote doctors, not me. And they don't want to cover it. So I hope everyone watching understands when it's a very precarious situation. This is a dangerous man, more dangerous by the day, who's losing touch with reality in a different way than we've seen. Really losing touch. So That's all right. I got to go. Thank you.
Dean, I'm
guys.
going to
Thanks so
plug
much.
my
Dean.
column. That's what I wrote today. Exactly. I love that.
Wait, Dean, before you leave,
Sure.
how can people find you, support you, help you get more haircuts and
Just
subsidize
got my
your life?
haircut. I'm still on the X thing at Dean Obidala. Better at Threads. I hope people follow me there. And my Substack, it's the Dean's Report, which is free. I hope people will sign up. Go to substack.com. And if you have Sirius XM, I have a show every night, 6 to 9 p.m. So check it out there.
Be
That's
sure to
what-
check out his OnlyFans.
And I don't only fan I have not actually. It's just my girlfriend. That's the one who watches me. All right, guys. Thanks
Later,
a lot. Nice
Dean.
seeing
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Take care.
But
brother.
Dean makes a really good point, folks. Let's sit with this for a second. Donald has not released his medical records. Kamala Harris has. When asked to release his medical records, he has refused. When I talk about him swaying like a penguin, he was at his rally a couple of days ago this week. He stops answering questions, and for 39 minutes, I refuse to call it dancing, folks. He milks the cow. He sways back and forth. The next day, he canceled his CNBC interview. At the interviews that we've played, when he does show up, he is incomprehensible. He looks slow. He's slurring his words with much more frequency. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris
play
goes
your
into
song
Lions Den.
and then greet a few people.
Yeah, let's do it.
The only thing is, I don't think we can have the music audio.
Oh, yeah, great.
Copyright.
There you go. Here we go. This is him dancing. I don't think he's dancing. And look at, I always love Kristi Noem's face. I wish we could look at Kristi Noem's face, because that's when you realize, you're like, oh God, I made the Faustian bargain and the devil is coming to collect. Oh my God, I'm on this ride until the end. Jen, I can't hear you. You want to say something? You're on mute.
His feet are planted, right? I'm trying to understand, because by the way, I stood like that to see what it felt like to have my feet planted and spinning like this. It's actually not a normal way. It gives you a very weird feeling in your stomach. You know how when you're a child on a swing and it gives you that weird feeling? Look, I don't know what he's going for there, why his feet are planted. Maybe he has an accident in his diaper, and that's why he doesn't want to walk.
He was doing this. He was also doing this during Univision yesterday.
He's
like
done this for
when he
years.
held the.
Wait, let's go. Wait, Adam, go first, then Brian. Adam, go
I was
first.
gonna say, he was doing this at Univision yesterday when the construction worker was talking to him for 2 minutes, and he started holding up like the good ear, like he couldn't hear or something like that. But he was doing the same thing, like he was listening to music in his head. I literally thought the first response to the construction worker from Donald Trump was going to be, "So, do you want to dance now?"
And Brian, I want you to expand on that. But the reason why we're spending some time on this is I think it's very clear he has lost a step. This man is 78 years old. He survived an assassination attempt. His ear survived. And another example, we don't have the clip for it, but if you actually have time to actually, from that rally that Jen just played, he was actually asked a question, a softball from our interviewer. The interviewer, she asked him, "What is your plan for small economy and like entrepreneurs?" And he gave this rambling answer, Brian. I don't know if you recall, about gas, electric, and then it ended with him imagining hydrogen cars exploding. I'm not making it up, folks.
That happens. They blow up. I saw the Hindenburg. It's a bad thing. Yeah, look. First of all, he walks that way because of the lifts in his shoes. He's done that for years. So when he dances, he would do that at the White House, and sometimes he would kind of try to pick up one leg and couldn't really do it. He is far more demented than he was in the White House. And there were times in the White House, there was a day when he brought Neil Gorsuch out to present him to us. And I asked him a question, and he's getting really nasty. And then he turned around and winked at me and smiled. I was like, so I went up afterwards. I said, "Are we dating now?" So I mean, he's always had that weird little tick to him. But the fact of the matter is it's disconcerting. The 39, I made jokes earlier about it being an NPC, but it does show a cognitive decline to Donald Trump. You could see the discomfort of people there. And I don't think there was anything more uncomfortable than watching him try to dance to the Village People and people go YMCA when you know what that song's about and you know what his policies are. You just feel at some point in time that Idiocracy was a sarcastic comedy. It wasn't supposed to be a documentary about life in the United States.
It is a fantastic movie that was ahead of its time. If you haven't seen it, see Mike Judge's Idiocracy, where in the future, a porn star / wrestler becomes the president in a blonde wig, not making up, played by Terry Crews.
Yes.
Instead of using water, they use Gatorade.
It's electrolytes.
Yeah, electrolyte, because it got electrolytes, and it was supposed to be a satirical comedy, which is unfortunately so prescient. But a comment that was made by the. So go ahead, Brian.
The one point to really to make all this to what Adam and you guys have been talking about is you have to realize the reason why he does all of this. He has lost the ability to make new memories, and he's falling back on what, if you go see The Apprentice, you will understand it's his 3-point plan. Deny everything, attack, and always claim victory. So those are the things that were drilled into him at an early age by Cohn, and you're seeing the manifestation of it now because he has such cognitive dissonance that he cannot rely on new memories and he can't make cognitive thoughts.
I want to make a point here is that, and then someone mentioned this, I'm glad they did. We have elders, we have our seniors, people age. We've seen our elders, suffer from dementia. We've seen our loved ones lose a step or two. It is our job to take care of them. It is our job not to mock them. But you see Donald, who even as we assume has lost a step in his old age, has maintained a cruelty, has no empathy for people like him or people who are young or people who are marginalized or people who are undocumented or people who need Social Security. Even as he advances in his age, Brian, like you said, he goes back to the old tricks, and the old tricks are all rancid.
And watch, I'm with you.
Mean.
If he weren't in office, I'd feel dreadfully sorry for this guy. I think he's got to be the loneliest, nastiest old man. He's the guy, you kids get off my lawn. I have the empathy for that.
Al Jackson made a really good point, which I highlighted. This is how Roy Cohn went out as well. This is exactly how Roy Cohn went out. He went out bankrupt. He went out alone. He went out delusional, believing his own lies. He died of AIDS, but said he didn't have AIDS. He was a gay man, refused to say he was a gay man. I mean, the cruelty of his life caught up to him at the end. And instead of having pity for a man like Roy Cohn, who was dying, a lot of people had the pity, but were also like, you were such a cruel vulgarian and a villain. This is how you went out. And I want to talk about this aspect that the nerds brought up, because I think it's important. The Republican base and the insiders, especially after that 39-minute swaying, word came out, Jen, that they were really nervous. They realized Donald is not sharp. They realized Donald, getting in front of the camera, speaking, is not helping him. They're trying to shield him. And they're grooming, if you will, the heir apparent. The heir apparent is J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance is the same man who we have all the records just a few years ago, warned his family about Donald Trump, told his friends that he's America's Hitler. Not my words, folks, J.D. Vance's words. And now, in order to become the heir apparent and wear the throne in the Republican Party, I don't know if we have the clip, but he praised Viktor Orban, the authoritarian leader of Hungary. And when asked again about did Donald Trump win the 2020 election, yesterday, he went all in with the big lie. Talk to us about the transformation.
Successfully dealing with the left-wing domination of universities is Viktor Orban's approach in Hungary. I think his way has to be the model for us, not to eliminate universities, but to give the choice between survival or taking a much less biased approach to teaching. He seized control of state universities and put them in foundations that were then run by his allies. Is that what you're advocating be done in the United States?
Well, Margaret, what you're seeing in the United States actually is that universities are controlled by left-wing foundations. They're not controlled by the American taxpayer, and yet the American taxpayer is sending hundreds of billions of dollars to these universities every single year.
I don't want taxpayers controlling education necessarily. Is that what you're advocating for, federal government?
Margaret, what I'm advocating for is for taxpayers to have a say in how their money is spent. Universities are part of a social contract in this country. They educate our children. They produce important intellectual property. They get a lot of money because of it. But if they're not educating our children well and they're layering the next generation down in mountains of student debt, then they're not meeting their end of the bargain. I think it's totally reasonable to say there needs to be a political solution to that problem.
Well, America's universities still attract talent from around the world, as you've went to one of America's very top schools.
Look, there's still good things about American universities, but it's going in the wrong direction, Margaret.
But Viktor Orban in particular, as you know, I mean, he rewrote the Constitution, he neutered the courts, he has tried to control the media. these are not necessarily conservative principles. So why would you want to mimic him?
Well, look, I'm not endorsing every single thing that Viktor Orban has ever done. I don't know everything he's ever done. What I do think is on the university principle, the idea that taxpayers should have some influence in how their money is spent at these universities, it's a totally reasonable thing. And I do think that he's made some smart decisions there that we could learn from the United States.
Well, he was just.
No.
Wow.
No.
Jen, can you just connect the dots?
Yeah, a couple things. Taxpayer, what a moron. He knows nothing about public education. I live in the great state of Michigan, which has one of the best public universities in the country, University of Michigan. I happen to work with the best law school, work at the best law school in the country, which is Wayne State. But back to U of M. The way taxpayers have a say is we elect the Board of Regents. In fact, I'm just voted for members who are, of the Board of Regents, and they help shape the direction of the university. So we actually do have a say. And as for, we do not want a democracy in terms of everyone gets to vote on what I'm going to teach in a classroom. That's not how education works. There's a whole process and a system that you need to go through and be peer reviewed in order to be able to step in a classroom and teach. And so there is a whole system of doing that. And, the idea that that is not happening is a lie. Secondly,
they used to
hold on. I'm still talking. Let me finish. I'm still talking. So Viktor Orban, though, they say he doesn't know everything he's done, but he's good on this one thing. That's kind of like saying, I don't know everything Hitler did to the Jews, but he was really good on watercolors. Fuck you, JD Vance.
I should not have laughed at that, but there was a lot of deep cuts in there because for those who don't know, Adolf Hitler was a failed art student. Oh, if they had only accepted him into art college, maybe that would have tempered his genocidal.
That's like the old slogan: if Donald Trump had only joined LinkedIn.
Yeah, maybe if he had only gotten the contract from The Apprentice, he would not have run for president. I'll bring Brian in a second, but Adam, I don't think we spend enough time really talking about the extremism of JD Vance and his open embrace of Viktor Orban. She gave him multiple opportunities to back away. He went all in. What will this mean for the United States if, suppose, God forbid, Trump wins? He's 78 years old, folks, and a guy like JD Vance takes over during his presidency.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I'll say, first of all, people can do whatever they want in life. They can wear what they want. The eyeliner is it basically masquerades all of the terrible, crazy stuff he's saying because I'm focused on that. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But if this douchebag wants to move to Hungary, I'll help him pack tomorrow. He is very dangerous. I've been on CNN and other outlets with JD Vance in the past. And this is a guy who will say and do anything to be in the highest, office in the land. And he's at the end of the day, he's actually incredibly similar to Donald Trump. If you remember, I mean, I have a letter here in the House that Donald Trump sent to Hillary Clinton in December of 2000, congratulating her on winning her Senate race and how excited he was that she was going to be his senator. And so, they are the same people at the end of the day, right? We just have a younger version. And the fact that these people can sit there and just pretend he hasn't said all this kind of stuff like Lindsey Graham or Donald Trump in the past shows you none of that stuff matters to them, right? And he's going to continue to do everything he can to be the new Donald Trump.
And Brian, that's what I want to.
By the way, to your point, Waj, it goes back to the walk home, right? Like this is what we're dealing with, even if the long walk home, even if we win decisively in November.
You've set me up for what I wanted to ask Brian is what it seems to me, Brian, after the last 9 years, the Republican establishment, conservatives, people like Lindsey Graham, people like Ted Cruz, those who decide to stay in and not push back, they realize that the Trumpian model is the only way forward, right? The people who push back, they're gone. Romney, he's gone. George W. Bush, gone. George Will, folks, gone. David Frank, gone. Right? Liz Cheney, freaking Liz Cheney used to be Liz Cheney, folks, used to be the number 3 Republican. She voted and supported Donald Trump over 93% of the time. But a January 6th insurrection that could have claimed her life was a bridge too far. And because she pushed back, the Wisconsin Republican Party literally excommunicated her, and now that's why she's rallying with Kamala Harris. So this is what we're seeing. And Brian, what I'm worried about is, some people think, okay, Donald's going to lose. He has to lose. We'll be okay. And I'm looking at JD Vance and Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. I'm like, to me, it's like Hydra. You cut off one head, another one, perhaps less potent, less powerful, will pop right up.
Well, I think he's a kinder, gentler fascist Nazi. But he is also younger, with permanent eyeliner. Those tattoos just drive me crazy. I can't get over it. But if you look, this is the way there are no Republicans left in the Republican Party. I would encourage them to just change the name of the party to MAGA and get it over with. That's who they are. There's no dissent allowed in that party. It's not a big tent party. It's a party for those who think as they do, white, racist, and nationalist populists. They are the Nazi party. So just call yourself the neo-Nazis or the new Nazis. You've taken pride in it. I've seen them in their damn boats, in their flotillas.
Can you tell people that? Because that story should have been headline news. And it was just from this week.
Happened down in Florida. They're in their flotilla going, "Hey, make America white again." With a Nazi flag.
Well, Brian, yeah, exactly. Swastikas
Nazi
and Trump
flags and Trump flags, and then promoting the pillow guy and that wonderful number that I won't repeat. So the problem with it is that you have what is left a very minor number of people. But the problem is that there are people who are going to vote there because they have been convinced that somehow the Democrats are as bad as the Republicans. So those are going, gosh, gas is more expensive. Because people don't think. What they are real good at is just trying to get through their day without thinking. As George Carlin said, think of how stupid the average person is and realize that half of them are stupider than that. And when you want to know where these politicians come from that we don't like, well, as Carlin also pointed out, they're raised in American environment, in American schools, go to American churches, go to American restaurants. This is the best we can do, folks. Garbage in, garbage out. We've got to increase our level of education just a bit, and you're not going to do it if you adopt the J.D. Vance style of education, because, folks, we did that before, and that's why Galileo was jailed. You don't have education subservient to politics. There is no political solution for that. The solution for education is the scientific method, which we seem to have forgotten about, and which is important. Not only, it's not a mindset, it's a way of thinking. It is a mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's not a be-all, end-all. You change your mind with science as new information becomes available. But if you look at the people, Waj, who are supporting the MAGA movement, they will not change their mind. They will not be open to new information. They will not. They have joined a cult. They are in this cult, and they are staying in that cult. So what you have to do is to educate the kids. And it's important to notice that what happened in this country in the last 40 years was because of No Child Left Behind. And the education suffered in this country, which enabled these morons to think that they're actually, when you stop teaching civics, physics, science, and you want religion in your school, there's your problem. Sorry, rant over.
you were cooking, so I said let him cook. That was a great rant. But I want to end on a positive note, because we always try our best to keep it real here. We don't sane wash anything on Mary Trump's Nerd Avengers. We try to bring you the news that people don't cover. I wish people would have covered that boat rally.
Too.
That was Laura Trump, the head of the RNC. This wasn't just a one-off. And in that MAGA boat parade, there was a boat with literal Nazis with a Trump flag and a swastika flag saying, "Make America White Again." Should have been headline news. It wasn't. That is the threat. The threat is real. And I also want to remind people that Donald Trump quotes Hitler. Poisoning the blood is Hitler's language. He sat with Nick Fuentes, a Holocaust denier. This is a man who talks about bad genes. That was just last week, folks. He says, I don't want people with bad genes. Last week, we've already forgotten it. He said he would blame the Jews if he loses. That was just a couple of weeks ago. This is not a normal president. This is not a normal movement, but there are people pushing back even in red states. And I want to leave us with two good pieces of news. Jen, Give me good news from Georgia. Give it to me.
So there is so much good news from Georgia. They've already had 2.5 days of early voting, and it's been blown out of the water. Like the numbers compared to 2020, like day one was like only around 150,000 in 2020. Now it's like over 300. Day two, they were expecting to be in the 200s when I heard last night. So it's fantastic that there is what?
220,000.
Yeah. So now we're still, day three, it's gonna continue. But what's also super fabulous is when CNN goes to coffee shops in rural Georgia, let me show you this clip, what they are finding.
Republican. Yeah, I vote for the man. I don't vote for their party.
So what are your thoughts on the election?
What are my thoughts on what?
On the election.
Ain't much to think about it.
Well, who are you going to vote for?
The right person.
Well, who do you think the right person
It won't
is?
be Donald Trump.
Okay, tell me why.
Last time you saw him talking, did you watch his lips? Were they moving? He's lying.
All right, well, so
I love this
Mr.
guy.
Wilson here was telling us that January 6th was a big disqualifier for him.
It should have been.
How do you feel about that?
I feel about it like he's anti-American. He's trying to overthrow our government.
And so are you thinking about voting for Harris?
Yeah, I have to.
As we wind down, Jen, your thoughts. I love that clip, by the way. I love the South. People might think the South, but South has its charm. That's old school South there, and those are some old school dudes from the South who can call out some bullshit and say
Jimmy Carter's from the South.
Yeah, that's a Jimmy Carter. And by the way, some other good news. So there's 3 pieces of good news. That was one piece of good news about the voter turnout. Second piece of good news. Brian, quickly give it to us about Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter's voting, man. He cast his ballot. You gotta love it. I think he's stubborn enough to stay alive just to vote.
They said he did. They said that he submitted his ballot. He's 100 years old. He said he wanted to live long enough to see the first female president. And Adam, the third piece of great news from Georgia about the Georgia judge. Do you know what it is?
I'm going to be way off here, so I'm turning it to Jen. I was just going to say that Jimmy Carter was one of the 300,000 ballots, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And can I say about Jimmy Carter that his first president he voted for was FDR?
Amazing.
Talk about bookends. Bookends, guys.
And before we talk about the Georgia judge who's helping save, hopefully, the election, you know, Jimmy Carter is 100 years old, folks. Speaking about people, you know, doing the best even as they get older, even as our body betrays us, even as our mind betrays us. This man, until he was physically able, every week tried to build houses with his late wife. Yep. He preached every Sunday. At the tail end of his career, even though he didn't have the most successful presidency, you know, a lot of stuff happened. He should have won another 4 years. But look at his career afterwards. Look what type of a model citizen he was. Look what type of a Christian he was. Look what type of a Southerner he was. Look what type of a former president he was. Look what type of an elder white man he was. And compare that to Donald Trump. Just sit with that for a second. There's 2 ways to go there in life. Go the way of Jimmy Carter. And the last good news out of Georgia, Jen, that might save our election. Give it to me.
This is huge. Georgia judge just yesterday struck down several, I think it was 7 different new rules that Georgia's election board tried to put in place that would completely interfere with the ability for Georgia to submit its electoral votes, right? So here's what one of them, which is really key, is that that planned rule to require hand counted ballots. That's one thing. And I think the other one is to basically say that Georgia actually has to submit am I getting this one right? Am I conflating this with something else? That they have to it's not optional. Yes, this is right. It's not optional to submit the votes for the Electoral College. It's like required, and they're not allowed to. It's just ministerial. You just add it up. You don't get to add any bells and whistles or question it. So this is all excellent news.
And it was,
and Waj, the fourth I was going to say is also Nebraska, where the Supreme Court came out and basically said if a felon has served their time, the state needs to immediately enact a law where they can vote. And Nebraska, I think that brings
Nebraska
back
Supreme Court rules convicted felons who completed their sentences can vote. It is huge.
And I think the number is around 100,000 individuals that would fall under that in a state in which there is a serious Senate race between an independent and a Republican.
And then also in Georgia, because of the hand ballot counting that Republicans wanted, it was to delay the results. And during that delay, they're going to, what did, real quick, Steve Bannon, what did he say? Flood the zone with shit, election lies. Huge wins, folks, for our democracy. There's 3 weeks left. Pedal to the metal. We thank you all. We thank the
Green
folks.
Day real quick?
What's that? Real quick, because
real quick. I want to quote Green Day. I don't want to be an American idiot. So get out there and vote, man, and get informed.
Thank you all for all who join us in the chat. I just want you to know you are an active member of our community. You are the 5th Nerd Avenger. We appreciate your passion. Jen, myself, and others, we keep trying to highlight your comments. We appreciate you liking us. We appreciate you subscribing to the show. Listen, the way the Google algorithm gods work is likes and subscribes. So if you haven't, please like this video.
And shares.
Please subscribe to Mary Trump Media. And as Adam said, share. And as we roll out, I want to shamelessly promote my fellow Nerd Avengers today. I'm going to go with Jen Taub. Jen, I know you are Ashkenazi Jew. I know it is very hard for you to self-promote yourself, but do it. Self-promote right now.
Guys, I have 2 shows. One every morning at 8 a.m. is Jen Taub Live. And today I launched a second show, which is a video show called, I've already forgotten the name of it, 10 with Jen. And it's my top 10 worst or best things that happened to a particular person. And today, Donald Trump was on tap.
Adam,
all on YouTube.
All on YouTube. Adam, Ukrainian pride. Give it to me. Give me. No timidity. Hit me with a shameless self-promotion.
A self-promotion. You go to thealtmedia.com. So THEALT media.com. And that's our free newsletter. No paywall. Put that out there. Appreciate you.
More. Give me one more. That's just too timid.
How about everyone go out there and share this show and do everything you can to help build our platform, and then we'll be able to push our stuff out there even more.
All right, Brian, make your Lebanese immigrant ancestors proud. Hit me with a shameless.
There you go. The name of the show is called Reverse Shot, wherever fine podcasts are sold, where we take a look at how screwed up the media is. So join us on the Mary Trump Network for that. Like and subscribe this one. Also, I do a week in review called Just Ask the Press, where we review each week with a variety of different newsmakers where we discuss the news of the week. And we also do Just Ask the Question, where we interview celebrities, politicians, and all of you have been a guest on the show. So I love you all. Peace and love. Like and subscribe. Kick butt.
And I have to do this even though it's painful. Tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be another live episode of Democracy-ish with me and Daniel Moody. Please watch and subscribe. And Mary Trump will be back next week. She loves you all. Thanks, everyone, for watching. As always, stay safe and vote.